Hi, everyone. Welcome to Life Skills with Louie. I'm Louie, and today we're talking about self-respect and its connection to love. This video falls within the series of Learning to Love, about skills related to connection and harmony with others. If you haven't watched the introduction to Learning to Love, that's probably helpful to understand these skills better. There's also an introduction to the interpersonal skills that goes over the whole list of them. And that's good to watch too. And then finally, if you haven't watched the introduction to the entire video series, that'll help you understand all 5 sections and how they fit together. So from that introduction to this section, if you've watched it, we talked about how there's all these different skills related to love. Most of this comes from Dialectical Behavioral Therapy, or DBT. I added in talking about attachment because I thought that was important. But then the next skill is self-respect, which is critical for having a deep, true love. So to talk about self-respect, in Dialectical Behavioral Therapy, they use the acronym FAST. And I think it's a great acronym. And of course, if you've watched any of these videos, you know that I love Dialectical Behavioral Therapy, DBT. Shout out to Marsha Linehan. She's and her team are incredible. So we're going to go over each of these 4 skills. And I put self-respect first because I think goes with the idea of the oxygen mask metaphor, that if, the cabin pressure changes in an airplane, put the oxygen mask on yourself first. I think this is the beginning of self-love, and therefore the beginning of love in general. So it makes sense to me to start here first. I guess I actually started with attachment, which is very deep, but for the interpersonal skills, technically, self-respect. So what are the 4 skills in self-respect effectiveness? We have fairness, no apologies for existing, sticking to your values, and telling the truth. And I'm going to go through each one of these a little bit. I encourage you, as always, to explore these with an individual therapist or in any other type of therapy, or with friends, mentors, whoever helps you, in order to deepen your ability to practice these skills. I'm always working on these, hence the name for this section, Learning to Love. We're always learning more. So fairness. Cornel West said something to the effect of, justice is what love looks like in public. And that makes a lot of sense to me. Later on in this section, we'll talk about unified consciousness, which brings up the question of, are we really just this one I? Is there a chance that we're somehow deeply all connected? If that's the case, and we are all one, when there's deep unfairness, it harms all of us. And there's also very practical ways in which it harms all of us. And I found from my own experience, and obviously DBT corroborates this, that angling towards fairness is the only way to really have a true sense of self-respect. If you are purposefully having things be less fair for you or more than fair for you, and you're not attempting to get more towards sharing with everyone, it ends up eroding your sense of self-respect, because really everyone is you and connected to you. And so to not be attempting to help them is to, in a way, be harming yourself, which may not make sense at this point. That's perhaps for later, but it's a part of the depth of this specific skill, fairness. So it's very critical to think about fairness. Obviously, people have different levels of skills. We can't all do the same things, but within your abilities, it's important to try to live into them, not do less than you can do, and really live into your power, become empowered. If you find that you're receiving a lot less than other people, trying to push and advocate for more is important for self-respect, you find that you have a lot more than other people, trying to share and advocate for those who have less is really important for self-respect. So totally agree with this being in the rubric, so to speak. Fairness is so important for self-respect and for love. And this, may have to do with advocating and assertiveness, as we talk about in another skill. So there's a lot that goes into this. Just want to state it's not easy, obviously. So we work towards it. Not like we have to get there 100%, but then our minds are working towards it. I found that does then lend to having self-respect. No apologies for existing. When people have gone through a lot of trauma and neglect, it's super common that, and I've worked with many people like this who apologize for a lot of things. So they're walking in a room and someone bumps into them and they say, "I'm sorry." And sort of as if I'm sorry for having a body, I'm sorry for existing. And stopping doing this is really important for self-respect. There is a time to apologize when you harm someone and they tell you they harmed them, or it's obvious that you've harmed them. An apology is a really important thing to do for repair. We talk about that in the section on repair, the video on repair. But notice if you're someone who apologizes a lot, it degrades your self-respect. So it needs to stop. It's not to say it's bad. It is to say it's harmful to you and in some ways to others, because it's confusing and puts them in a position as if they were asking for an apology when they weren't. No apologies for existence. Stick to your values is the third principle of the self-respect principles from DBT. And this has to do with holding on to what you care about, what you desire, what your goals are. This is related to effectiveness from the mindfulness, the being beyond section. Having a vision, knowing what matters to you, and holding onto it. It's an iron grip. There's one thing to hold on to. It's that. It's everything in regards to you being you. What do you care about? What sparks you? This is the essence of the self. So hold on to your visions, whatever they may be. Stick to them. Hold to them. And if anyone is demeaning them and attacking them, try to give yourself some protection. That's important for your self-respect. Finally, T, tell the truth. Lying is a behavior. I work with a lot of people who lie. I've certainly lied in my life. I'm human. Everyone's human. Everyone has all sorts of behaviors that aren't necessarily the best in the long run, but we do. And the thing about lying and the truth, the way I think about it relating to self-respect, is that if you have to lie, you're disempowered. And again, the reason I don't judge people, sometimes people need to lie. There's just no other way around it. They just feel too scared. There's too many things going on. But we work towards living and telling our truth because it's empowering. It's hard. It takes courage. It builds self-respect. So over time, the idea with the skill is to work to tell the truth more and more. So again, these are deep. You have to practice them over and over again, reflect on them, work with those you care about on these skills. But critical to love and to learning to love are these self-respect skills of fairness, no apologies for existing, stick to your values, and tell the truth. Thank you.